Hey guys! Sorry about that. Today we're gonna talk about memory fragments because everyone should dunk their stamina into farming said memory fragments. Because on December the 3rd we're gonna get an update that introduces us to a new farmable currency that we can obtain by running planets. And this currency can be exchanged for all kinds of materials in a new shop, such as materials to upgrade our potential trees, etc, etc. So you are good advised that you dunk your stamina either into leveling up materials in case your characters would not be level 60 yet. You can pre-farm those, and after that you're gonna grind those memory fragments. Let me show you one more time which memory fragments you actually gonna grind for. You either gonna grind this stage here called Face and Trace, the first one. If you play a team that mainly deals damage via 1-cost cards, you want 4 pieces of this Conqueror's Aspect set, because that would increase your whole team's damage, critical damage in fact, by plus 35%. Okay, if you play a team that mainly deals damage with cards that cost 2 or more, like Haru for example, then you would go instead for this Line of Justice set, and also you want 4 pieces, and those would increase your critical damage by 20%. So you're gonna farm one of those sets for pretty much every single character in the game. In fact, for every single character in the game, except for those that deal defense-based damage. If you're gonna play one of those characters, you simply look at their attribute and you farm the set for this character according to whatever attribute he is from. Then for every other character in the game you have now 4 set pieces, right? But you can carry 6 items. That means you want another 2 set piece to also work around increasing your critical damage, and that is where you go for the Executioner's tool set here. You want 2 pieces of this set to increase your critical damage by a further 25%. So you're gonna farm the stage, corpses and tools, plus either Face and Trace or Glory of Authority. Alright, now that we figured out what set pieces we actually want and we have all the 6 items figured, let's go to our combatants and check how to work around these memory fragments further. I haven't worried too much about my memory fragments myself, but the time has come, so it is a very good time to show you this and go over the entire process together. You first gonna worry about your weapon, this one right here on the left hand side on the bottom here, the shock one. The first thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna click on Dismantle, auto register, you're gonna mark raw, uncommon and common, click confirm and dismantle. That will dismantle all your green and blue useless items, and it gives you a resource that you then need to wait. Let me check if it actually registered everything. It did. So then you're gonna go back and you're gonna click on craft. We have now established ourselves a good amount of these traces of memory resources to actually be able to craft an item, and you're gonna go ahead and craft like 3 to 5 of every single piece that is available to you here. Once you have crafted yourself the items, you're gonna go back and you're gonna click on your weapon one more time. Now you can see I already did it. I have like 7 weapons available here, and now is where things get a little bit interesting, because if you look at this weapon right here, it has defense, critical damage, attack, right, and even more defense on it. This one though has ego recovery, attack, damage over time, extra damage, and you will realize that every single one of those weapons, they have different stats. This one right here, they have an affix and they have prefixes, and once you upgrade an item, you can see this right here, that one prefix of mine is not unlocked yet. And let me explain to you how you will figure out if you should upgrade this item or not, if it's worth it to unlock the last prefix or not. So let's take a look and talk a little bit about these prefixes in general real quick. There are 8 different prefixes available in this game. Those are attack, crit damage, crit chance, extra damage, damage over time. Those are the offensive prefixes. Then we have one utility prefix called ego recovery and 2 defensive prefixes called defense and health. The two most important prefixes, right, except if you play a defense-based type of character, are crit damage and crit chance. That is already what we aim for with our set bonies. So we want crit damage and crit chance on every single item that we equip onto our characters. And now, as I said, like you will craft let's say 5 weapons, right? Then you're gonna check every weapon that you have in your inventory, and you will see, like, let's do this together. We will see we have ego recovery, attack, damage over time, extra damage. We don't see any shenanigans with crit here. We are looking for an item that has both crit damage and crit chance, and then we're gonna go from there. So let's see. Defense, attack, ego recovery. We don't want that. Here, attack, critical damage, damage over time. We don't want damage over time on Veronica, and we lack the crit chance. So, right, I already checked, and this is the item that I'm aiming for. I have critical damage, I have critical chance. All right. Perfect. Now we're gonna go from here and we check the third prefix. Do we profit from this? Yes or no? For me, since I do this with Veronica, the answer is yes, because my third prefix here is extra damage. Ideal, most of my damage is extra damage because of my ballistas, right? The same thing would be true for a character like Hugo, who deals extra damage with his follow-up attacks, right? With his commands, the hunt, and so on and so forth. So for these two characters, that would be perfect. But you have to watch out that if you, for example, play a character like Tressa, who would prefer damage over time over extra damage, then yeah, you should maybe reconsider crafting more of those spots to hit your perfect 3 prefixes. And once you hit the perfect 3 prefixes for your character, you can then commit to this item and upgrade it. This will unlock the 4th prefix, and now we're gonna pray, right? We're gonna check what do we would profit from the most. We have critical damage, critical chance, and extra damage. So in my case, since this is the weapon, I would pray to Lord Gambler that he gives me additional attack. That would be the absolute perfect weapon. I wouldn't cry if he wouldn't give me health either though, and I would still keep this item if I roll health. So let's do this together. Let's pray that we get either attack or maybe health. Don't get damage over time, don't get defense, please. Let's go. We have health, see, perfect. This is now an item that we can commit to because we have the 3 best possible prefixes and a pretty good one on top of that. So we can go ahead and upgrade this item further and further and further, and yeah, even go as far and max it out. And that is how you go over every single item in this game. Now there is a little bit of a caveat to the other items, and let's check out what this caveat actually is. You will notice that every item gives you another affix. That is not too much of a big deal, but let me show you what I'm talking about here. Conqueror's aspect, right? My weapon gives me attack plus. No matter what, I can't change that. The next item here would give me defense plus. So this would be the item slot where we would be fine rolling a little bit of defense onto it. It is not something that you have to pay very close attention to, but yeah, it is something to keep in mind that rolling 1 prefix of defense on this specific slot would be fine, right? So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna craft a few of these items. Then we're gonna go back and we're gonna check the items that we crafted out. Remember, every single one of our pieces wants crit damage and crit rate. Those are the most important parts. We can see here damage over time, attack health. That's trash, we don't want that. Here attack, critical damage and defense. See, this is better. Here, wait, let's check the third item. It has critical damage, health. Okay, no. This one here is the best with attack, critical damage and defense. Now comes a little bit of a mid-maxing part, because you can see me crafting one of those items, it would cost me 100 of these traces of memory. I only have 700 of those left, so it is kind of pricey to craft one of these items. Now I can go over this like this. I commit to this item here, even though it is not perfect. I would want an item that has both crit damage and crit chance. I missed the crit chance here, so what I should do to do it perfectly would keep crafting, right? Until I hit a piece that has both critical damage and critical hit rate. Now my resources are scarce when it comes to crafting, as we just figured. And this piece is not too bad. If I would upgrade this now, and it would give me critical chance, I would actually be thriving, and it would be very, very good. I have more of this resource, the particles of memory here, then I would have the resources to actually craft an item, so I could pray to Lord Gambler and go for it and hope I get the critical chance. Let's see if that actually happens. No, we got ego recovery. That is something that we don't want, so this item is not good enough to upgrade further, so we're gonna stop here, right? We can of course still equip it, but we would not invest further resources. We would now gather resources to craft more of these pieces and only go and fully upgrade a piece that has the perfect prefixes. Alright. Then we have a third piece here that you see our weapon gives attack, this one gives defense, and then we have our third spot with health. So let me go over this one more time. The prefixes that you want on every single item are crit chance, crit damage, and then for the third one, it depends a little bit. You either want, in my case, right, for Hugo and Veronica, you would want extra damage. For Tressa, you would want damage over time. For pretty much everyone else, you want attack, right? And again, if you play a defense-based character that deals damage based on how much defense he has, you're of course gonna roll defense, right? Needless to explain. And then the fourth slot can be whatever the item determines you. On a weapon, you go for attack. Here you go for defense, here you go for health. Keep in mind that you want to stack health as much as possible, if you can, to reach over 2k max HP on your team. If your team has 2.1k, 2.2k health, that's fine. Then you can stop speccing into health and go for defense instead. Moving forward, it gets a little bit more interesting and you have to have a little bit more knowledge, because here for the last 3 items you can choose your affix actually. And for all of these 3 items, the options are different. Here, let's check it out. See, main option, settings, that's your affix, you can choose it. It's for this one, attack, health, crit chance, crit damage. This one is a no-brainer and you always gonna go for the crit chance no matter what, except if you play of course a character that deals defense-based damage. Then you can consider either health or of course attack. Attack is what you will mostly take, except if your team hasn't reached the threshold of over 2k max HP yet. If it wouldn't, you would go for health, right? But yeah, in most cases you always gonna go for the critical chance here. It's really a no-brainer. Cool. Then the second item here, you don't have that luxury, right? You go for attack, health, or you can increase your attributes damage. Again, if your team hasn't reached 2k plus max health, you go for health. Otherwise, you pretty much always gonna go for attack. The only thing where you go for the attribute damage is, again, you know how this goes by now, by a character that deals defense-based damage. Then for the last item here, attack, defense, health, ego recovery, same rule applies here. If your team hasn't reached the threshold of over 2k max HP, you would take health. Otherwise, you pretty much always gonna go for attack. And now you tell me whenever you would take defense. Cool. Now, there is one more thing that I want to tell you about, because it is a little bit different in this game compared to most other games. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. I think here I had a very, very good example. Yeah, here, this is a very, very good example. Because you can see that you can roll for the prefix let's take health for example. This applies to everything else as well, except for the critical damage kind of stuff. But for everything else, for attack and whatnot, you can roll 2 different prefixes of health. One that gives you percentage health and one that gives you flat health. The same applies, as I said, like to attack and everything else as well. Here, normally you would default to, or you always gonna go for the percentages, because this is what you learned from most other games, and that is always gonna be better than the flat health, right? In this game, it's different. In this game, the math tells you the value is higher by taking flat attack, flat health compared to percentages. Now, it's of course, there's more to it, because it depends on the numbers that you actually roll, right? You can either roll, like here, 11 health. You can roll 14 health. You can roll, I think the maximum is 16 health. Don't quote me on that, right? The number differs. So let's say that is like endgame and giga min-maxing stuff. But let's say that on all of your pieces here, on most of your pieces, you roll a pretty significantly high amount of attack, right? Here, 22. You have a huge amount of attack already. You can see this in your flat stats. Like say my attack would not be 772, right? It will be more when I max this memory fragment stuff out. Don't worry about it. Let's say I would have like 1200 attack. Then I can take like 1 or 2 items in which I rolled a high amount of attack percentages, right? Then the percentage would be very, very valuable and better than flat. But the point that I'm trying to get across is that whenever you would have the chance, or you want to go for giga min-maxing, you take flat numbers instead of percentages. All right. And that was all about there is to say about memory fragments. Remember that when you're gonna go and craft, then yeah, focus on 4 items for the Conqueror's aspect set and 2 items for the other set that we covered. I forgot what the name was. Wait, let me pull it up real quick. It is called the Executioner's Tool. 2 of those and 4 of the Conqueror set, and then you're gonna be golden. Now there's one more thing I wanna tell you, because you can see that in order for you to craft, you need these traces of memory. And so yeah, you're gonna craft and craft and craft multiple items for every single slot. And then you're gonna go, of course, decide like, hey, this one is actually the best. Now you don't need the other 5, 6, 7, how many you have of those. So what you can go do is you can go to dismantle, and you can dismantle every one of those weapons that you will not use anyways, and dismantle those, and you can see that you obtain a tiny bit of these traces of memory to then be able to maybe craft further items, right? Be it weapons or be it any slot. That is how you get your hands onto these traces of memory. And that's about it for the video, guys. I hope this was fun and informative. If you like Chaos Zero Nightmare content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until next time, don't forget to join the Discord server, link in the description down below. While you are in the description down below, there will also be a link to my twitch.tv channel where I live stream this game every single day. And once you see this video, I will be live streaming this game here for many hours, so feel free to stop by and come in and say hi. But until next time, again, take care of yourselves, have a great day, peace and love.